The sea was angry tonight, frothy waves crashing against the research platform's struts with enough force to make the whole structure shudder. Dr. Ileana Frost glanced anxiously at her equipment, checking that the backup generators were ready. Her marine biology research wasn't exactly cutting edge, tracking migration patterns of deep-sea organisms, but it was hers, and she'd fought hard for this isolated posting when most of her colleagues preferred the comfort of coastal laboratories. "Just me and the fish," she muttered, adjusting the collar of her weatherproof jacket as she stepped onto the observation deck. The storm was expected to last through tomorrow, which meant another day of samples lost. Ileana raised her binoculars to scan the horizon, a habit formed during 3 years of solitude. That's when she saw it, a streak of blue-green light cutting through the clouds, followed by something metallic crashing into the sea less than a kilometer from her platform. "What the hell?" Ileana rushed to the control panel, switching on the platform's spotlight and directing it toward the splash site. Protocol demanded she radio the mainland, but curiosity got the better of her. Whatever fell wasn't any aircraft design she recognized. 20 minutes later, she was skimming across the waves in the station's reinforced research boat, fighting the storm surge with gritted teeth. The object was partially submerged, its gleaming hull unlike any metal she'd ever seen. As Ileana maneuvered closer, she realized it was roughly the size of a small yacht but shaped like a teardrop, with no visible seams or rivets. "Hello," she called out, knowing how foolish it sounded. "Is anyone there?" A section of the hull suddenly liquefied, forming an opening. Ileana gasped, nearly dropping her flashlight. Scientific curiosity overpowered her fear as she secured her boat to the strange craft and peered inside. The interior was bathed in a soft azure glow. Crystalline displays floated in midair, flashing symbols she couldn't comprehend. But what seized her attention was the figure slumped beside what appeared to be a control console. She was unmistakably female in form, but clearly not human. Her skin shimmered with an opalescent quality, shifting between deep blues and purples with each labored breath. Where hair should be, delicate tendrils that resembled fiber optic cables flowed from her scalp. A viscous fluid the color of liquid mercury seeped from a gash across her abdomen. "Oh God," Ileana whispered, medical training kicking in despite her shock. She approached carefully, noting that the alien woman's eyes, startlingly large and entirely silver with no visible pupils, were half open but unfocused. The craft lurched suddenly, taking on water. Whatever force had kept it afloat was failing. Making a split-second decision that would change her life forever, Ileana carefully lifted the alien woman. She was surprisingly light despite being nearly as tall as Ileana herself. "I've got you," she said, unsure if she could be understood. "I'm taking you somewhere safe." The journey back to the platform was treacherous, waves threatening to capsize them with each swell. The alien drifted in and out of consciousness, occasionally making sounds like crystalline wind chimes. By the time Ileana managed to get her into the station's medical bay, her own muscles screamed with exertion. Working feverishly through the night, Ileana used her limited medical knowledge and equipment meant for human emergencies. The alien physiology was bewilderingly different. Her blood seemed to contain microscopic luminescent particles, and her skin produced a subtle electrical charge that made Ileana's hair stand on end when she applied pressure bandages. Dawn broke as the storm began to subside. Ileana, exhausted beyond measure, slumped into a chair beside her patient. What had she done? Harboring an extraterrestrial would certainly end her career, possibly her freedom. But watching the steady rise and fall of the alien woman's chest, seeing the wound already beginning to heal at an accelerated rate, Ileana couldn't bring herself to regret her choice. The alien's eyes suddenly fluttered open fully, their mercurial surface focusing directly on Ileana. With a gesture that transcended species, she weakly reached out one slender, six-fingered hand. Ileana hesitated only a moment before taking it in her own. The touch sent a warm, tingling sensation up her arm that settled somewhere in her chest. "Calyx," the alien woman said, her voice like nothing Ileana had ever heard, musical and resonant, as if multiple tones were layered into a single word. "Is that your name?" Ileana asked softly. "I'm Ileana." "Ileana," Calyx repeated, the name transformed into something ethereal in her strange voice. Her grip tightened slightly. "You saved me." Something in those silver eyes made Ileana's heart race in a way that had nothing to do with fear. Rest now, she said, surprised by the protective feeling washing over her. You're safe here. Calix's eyes drifted closed again, but she didn't release Ileana's hand. Outside, the storm had passed, but Ileana knew her life's most turbulent chapter was just beginning. 3 weeks had passed since the crash. Ileana's research station, once a sanctuary of solitude, now felt alive with an energy she'd never experienced before. Calix recovered with astonishing speed, her alien biology repairing itself far more efficiently than human tissue could. Morning light filtered through the laboratory windows as Ileana entered with 2 mugs of coffee. She'd discovered Calix had developed a particular fondness for the bitter drink, though she insisted on adding alarming amounts of honey. Your planet's star feels different from mine, Calix observed, standing by the window. The sunlight caught her iridescent skin, creating patterns that shifted like oil on water. She wore Ileana's spare clothes, a simple t-shirt and sweatpants that somehow looked exotic on her otherworldly frame. Different how? Ileana handed Calix her mug, trying not to stare at the way the alien's tendrils swayed gently, seemingly of their own accord. They reminded Ileana of sea anemones, beautiful and hypnotic. Warmer, less sharp. Calix took the mug, her 6 fingers brushing against Ileana's. That same electric tingle passed between them, and Ileana felt her cheeks flush. On my world, we evolved additional melanin layers to protect from radiation. Ileana nodded, fascinated as always by these glimpses into Calix's world. What's your work there? Before the crash, I mean. I study xenobiology, life on other planets. Calix's laugh was like wind chimes. The irony isn't lost on me. I came seeking single-celled organisms and instead became the specimen. Not a specimen, Ileana corrected firmly. A guest. Calix's expression turned serious, her silver eyes unblinking. In my culture, Ileana, there is no such thing as an unpaid debt. You saved my life. This creates a bond of the highest order. There's no debt, Ileana insisted, setting down her mug. Any decent person would have helped. Yet you risked much, your career, your government's punishment. Calix moved closer, the scent of her skin reminiscent of ozone after lightning. I have accessed your global information network. I understand what finding alien life means to your species. Ileana swallowed hard, suddenly aware of how close they were standing. I couldn't just let you die. This is why the debt is greater, Calix whispered. Her hand rose hesitantly before touching Ileana's cheek. The contact sent warmth cascading through Ileana's body. Your compassion transcends your self-preservation. Among my people, this quality is deeply admired. The moment stretched between them, taut with unspoken tension. Ileana found herself leaning into the touch, heart racing. She'd never felt this way about anyone, let alone someone from another world. A timer beeped loudly, shattering the moment. Ileana stepped back, flustered. The samples need processing, she stammered, moving toward her equipment. Calix followed, peering at the collection of deep-sea microorganisms Ileana had been studying before the crash. May I assist? She asked, those silver eyes now alight with scientific curiosity. My knowledge of cellular structures might offer new perspectives. Over the next hours, Ileana watched in amazement as Calix effortlessly identified patterns in the data that had eluded her for months. The alien's knowledge was profound, her insights revolutionary. This species, Calix pointed to what Ileana had catalogued as merely another deep-sea bacterium, has remarkable properties. On my world, similar organisms are cultivated for their healing capabilities. You're saying it has medical applications? Ileana leaned closer, their shoulders touching. Potentially transformative ones, Calix confirmed. This could be your breakthrough research. When evening came, they sat on the observation deck, watching stars emerge. The isolation that had once defined Ileana's existence now felt like a precious gift, a private universe shared with just one other being. Those stars, Calix pointed to a cluster barely visible to human eyes, surround my home system. Do you miss it? Ileana asked softly. I am conflicted, Calix admitted, her tendrils gently rippled with emotion. My mission was important, but what I've found here, she turned to Ileana, eyes luminous in the darkness, is unexpected. Ileana's breath caught as Calix's hand found hers. The alien's touch was now familiar yet still thrilling. In my culture, Calix continued, voice low and melodic. Life debts are sacred bonds. They can only be repaid through equivalence. Her grip tightened slightly. I have been considering how to honor this obligation to you. Calix, your friendship is more than enough, Ileana insisted, though the word friendship felt inadequate for the magnetic pull between them. Calix shook her head, tendrils swaying with emotion. No, Ileana, I believe I've found the answer. Her expression was solemn, yet somehow vulnerable. But it will require time to explain properly. As they sat beneath Earth's stars, hands intertwined, Ileana realized that whatever boundaries existed between their worlds were already beginning to dissolve, replaced by something neither of them had words for yet. Dark clouds gathered on the horizon as Ileana checked the storm warning systems. Another tempest approached the research station, this one forecast to be even more severe than the one that had brought Calix into her life 6 weeks ago. The atmospheric disturbance concerns you, Calix observed, entering the control room. She had a way of moving silently, gracefully, that still startled Ileana occasionally. We'll lose power, Ileana explained, securing equipment. The backup generators only last 12 hours. After that, she shrugged, we'll be completely isolated until it passes. Calix's tendrils rippled in what Ileana had come to recognize as amusement. You speak of isolation as though we aren't already alone here. True, Ileana smiled, feeling that now familiar flutter in her chest whenever Calix was near. I've radioed the mainland. No supply boats until the storm clears. Then perhaps, Calix said, her silver eyes reflecting the flashing monitor lights, this is the perfect time for us to discuss my proposal. Ileana paused, her hand hovering over the control panel. Proposal. The resolution to my debt, Calix clarified. I have given it considerable thought. They moved to the small living quarters where Ileana had prepared dinner. The first raindrops began striking the windows, percussion to the growing tension between them. In my society, Calix began after they'd eaten, when one being saves another's life, there is only one appropriate repayment. Her voice took on a formal quality. I wish to offer myself as your bondmate. Ileana nearly choked on her water. Your what? Bondmate, your language might translate it as spouse or life partner. Calix's tendrils flowed with a subtle luminescence that appeared when she experienced strong emotions. It is our highest offering, a life for a life, a future for a future. Calix, that's, Ileana struggled for words. On Earth, people don't marry out of obligation. You misunderstand. Calix moved closer, the scent of ozone intensifying. The obligation creates the opportunity, but the choice is made from genuine feeling. Her six-fingered hand reached for Ileana's. I have observed your responses to my proximity. Your pupils dilate, your pulse quickens, your skin flushes with blood. Ileana felt herself doing all three things simultaneously. That's not fair, she murmured. You can't use biology against me. I can also share what I feel, Calix continued, voice softening. When you enter a room, my cardiovascular system accelerates, my neural patterns alter, my epidermis produces increased electrical charges. Her hand squeezed Ileana's gently. These are not obligation responses, they are attraction responses. Outside, the storm intensified. Rain lashed against the windows and wind howled around the station's support structure. Inside, a different kind of storm brewed between them. This isn't just about physical attraction, Ileana finally said. Relationships need compatibility, shared values, emotional connection. Have we not demonstrated these? Calix interrupted. We work seamlessly together. We share a devotion to knowledge. We find joy in each other's company. Her tendrils swayed closer to Ileana's face, almost caressing her cheek. And there is something more, something ineffable between us. Do you deny this? Ileana couldn't deny it. Whatever had developed between them transcended cultural differences, even species boundaries. The lights flickered once, twice, then went out completely. Emergency lighting cast the room in a soft blue glow, eerily similar to the light from Calix's crashed vessel. Perfect timing, Ileana laughed nervously. Perhaps it is, Calix whispered. In the dim light, her skin glowed with bioluminescent patterns that pulsed like heartbeats. May I show you something from my culture? At Ileana's nod, Calix raised both hands, palms forward. Touch your hands to mine. Ileana hesitated, then pressed her palms against Calix's six-fingered ones. Immediately, a gentle current passed between them, warming her skin and traveling up her arms. She gasped as the sensation spread throughout her body. "This is how my people share first intimacy," Calix explained, her voice taking on that multi-layered quality that emerged in moments of intensity. "Our bioelectric fields synchronize, creating a feedback loop of sensation." The feeling intensified, pleasure cascading through Ileana's nerves. She felt as though she could sense Calix's emotions, wonder, desire, affection, flowing into her consciousness. "Is this," Ileana's voice caught as the sensation peaked, "is this what bondmates experience?" "This is merely the beginning," Calix answered, leaning forward until their foreheads touched. "Bondmates develop the ability to share far deeper connections." Time lost meaning as they remained connected, the storm raging outside while they explored this new dimension of closeness. Eventually, Calix gently broke the contact, leaving Ileana breathless and trembling. "I don't want you to answer now," Calix said softly. "The proposal remains open, but know that it comes not from obligation alone." As their eyes met in the blue-tinged darkness, Ileana realized her resistance was crumbling. Whatever this was between them, this impossible interstellar connection, it felt more real than anything she'd ever known. "The storm will last 3 days," Ileana whispered, taking Calix's hand again. "Perhaps we could explore more of your customs during that time." Calix's entire body seemed to glow brighter. "I would be honored to share them with you, Ileana." Outside, lightning split the sky, illuminating their silhouettes as they moved closer together, two figures from different worlds finding unexpected harmony in isolation. The days following the storm had transformed the research station into something else entirely, a sanctuary where two beings from different worlds explored the uncharted territory of their relationship. Ileana found herself experiencing life through new senses as Calix shared more of her species' intimate customs. Each night, their bioelectric connection grew stronger, more profound, allowing them to feel each other's emotions in waves of sensation that left them both breathless. "Your research has advanced remarkably," Calix observed one morning as they reviewed Ileana's findings on the deep-sea microorganisms. With Calix's help, Ileana had made more progress in weeks than she had in years. "Too remarkably," Ileana said, frowning at her tablet. "I just got a message from the Research Foundation. They're sending a team to evaluate my breakthrough methodology." Calix's tendrils stiffened, a sign of alarm Ileana had come to recognize. "When?" "Tomorrow. Apparently, publishing those preliminary results caught more attention than I expected." Ileana ran a hand through her hair. "I should have been more careful." "You're proud of your work," Calix said, moving behind Ileana and placing six-fingered hands on her shoulders. A gentle current of comfort flowed between them. "As you should be." Ileana leaned back against her alien lover. "What am I going to do? They can't find you here." "I will hide," Calix said simply. "Your storage compartments below are sufficient." "It's not just that." Ileana turned to face her. "What if they station someone here permanently? What if they take over the research?" She took Calix's hands, feeling the now familiar tingle. "I'm afraid of losing you." Calix's silver eyes studied her with that penetrating gaze that seemed to see straight to Ileana's core. "There is something I haven't told you," she said finally. "My communication device survived the crash. I've been attempting to repair it." Ileana felt a cold knot form in her stomach. "You're trying to contact your people." "Yes, yesterday I received a response." Calix's tendrils swayed slowly. "A research vessel is in this sector. They could retrieve me within 14 of your Earth days." The revelation hit Ileana like a physical blow. She stepped back, breaking their contact. "You're leaving." "That depends on you," Calix said softly. "My proposal remains open. If you accept, I stay. If you decline." Her voice trailed off. Ileana turned away, staring out at the endless ocean. The thought of Calix leaving created a pain she wasn't prepared for, yet asking her to stay meant. What exactly? A life of hiding, never returning to her own kind. "It's not fair to ask you to give up everything," Ileana whispered. "Is it not equally unfair to ask the same of you?" Calix countered. "To leave your world, your research, to join me among the stars." The question hung between them, impossible and enticing simultaneously. Ileana had never considered leaving Earth, yet now the possibility unfurled in her mind like an exotic flower. To see Calix's world, to explore the universe through new eyes. A warning alarm interrupted her thoughts. The station's proximity sensors had detected an approaching vessel. "They're early," Ileana gasped, checking the monitors. "The evaluation team wasn't supposed to arrive until tomorrow." Calix moved with fluid efficiency, gathering the few possessions that might reveal her presence. "I will conceal myself." "Wait!" Ileana caught her arm, pulling her close. Their lips met in a desperate kiss, Calix's unique taste like electrical storms and sweet spice. The bioelectric connection flared between them more intensely than ever before, their emotions amplifying each other. Fear, desire, uncertainty, and something deeper that neither had named yet. "I love you," Ileana breathed against Calix's shimmering skin. "Whatever happens, whatever we decide, I need you to know that." Calix's tendrils curled around Ileana's face in their most intimate gesture. "Among my people, we don't speak such things," she whispered. "We feel them." The surge of emotion that flowed through their connection left no doubt about her feelings, a love so profound it transcended verbal language. They separated reluctantly as the sound of the approaching boat's engine grew louder. Calix disappeared into the lower storage area just as Ileana composed herself to greet her unexpected visitors. 3 people boarded the platform, 2 men in suits who introduced themselves as Dr. Harlow and Dr. Patel from the Research Foundation, and a stone-faced woman who simply presented credentials identifying her as Agent Mercer, Governmental Scientific Oversight Division. "Dr. Frost," Agent Mercer said, her eyes scanning the station with clinical precision, "your recent findings have raised some flags, particularly your discovery of cellular structures previously unknown to science." "My methods are unconventional," Ileana replied carefully, but thorough. "We'll need to see all your research notes," Dr. Harlow said, "and examine your equipment. The biological markers you've documented bear striking similarities to theoretical xenobiological models." The word xenobiological sent a chill through Ileana. They suspected something or someone not of Earth origin. "Of course," she said, maintaining her composure, "everything is available for review." As they began examining her lab, Ileana felt her carefully constructed world beginning to crumble. Beneath her feet, hidden from view, was the being she loved. Above, the people who could separate them forever. And somewhere in the vast sky, a ship approached that could take Calix home, or perhaps, if she dared to dream it, take them both to the stars. The choice loomed before her like an approaching storm, far more consequential than any weather that had ever threatened her isolated outpost. 3 days of exhaustive inspections had left Ileana mentally drained. She sat at her desk, watching Agent Mercer and the research team pack their equipment. They'd scrutinized every aspect of her work, questioned her methodologies, and searched the facility, though thankfully not thoroughly enough to discover the hidden compartment where Calix remained concealed. "Your research is unprecedented, Dr. Frost," Dr. Patel said, closing his tablet case. "The Foundation is interested in expanding this facility's operations. We're recommending a full team be stationed here permanently." Ileana's heart sank. When would this transition occur? "Within 2 weeks," Agent Mercer replied, her expression unreadable. "In the meantime, you'll continue your work under remote supervision. We've installed monitoring equipment in your lab." After terse goodbyes, Ileana watched their boat disappear toward the mainland. Only when they were well beyond sight did she rush to release Calix from her hiding place. "They're gone," she gasped, helping her alien lover climb from the cramped storage compartment. "But they're coming back with more people." Calix's tendrils rippled with concern as she stretched her tall frame. "And my people will arrive in 8 days." Her silver eyes fixed on Ileana. "The moment of decision approaches more rapidly than we anticipated." That night they lay intertwined on Ileana's bed, their bodies glowing faintly with shared bioelectric energy. The intimacy they'd developed had grown profound. Skin against iridescent skin, heartbeats synchronizing, the boundaries between their separate consciousnesses blurring during their most passionate moments. "If I go with you," Ileana whispered against Calix's shoulder, "I can never return to Earth, can I?" "The journey would be one way," Calix confirmed, her 6 fingers tracing patterns on Ileana's bare back. "My people maintain strict protocols about interspecies contact. Your presence would be unprecedented." "Like my research," Ileana said with a sad smile. "Yes, but you would be welcomed as my bond mate." Calyx's tendrils gently caressed Ileana's face. You would be the first human to see worlds beyond your solar system, to document life forms beyond imagination. The scientist in Ileana thrilled at the possibility, even as fear clutched at her heart. And if you stay? A life in hiding, perpetual danger. Calyx's skin dimmed slightly. An eventual discovery, your species is not ready for open contact with mine. They fell silent, the weight of impossibility pressing down on them. Then Calyx suddenly sat up, her body illuminating with excitement. There is a third option, she said, tendrils swaying rapidly. One I had not considered until now. Ileana propped herself up on one elbow. What do you mean? My people value knowledge exchange above all else. It is why we explore. Calyx's silver eyes gleamed in the darkness. What if this facility became not just a marine research station, but a point of first contact, an embassy of sorts? That's ambitious, Ileana said carefully. My government would never. Not officially, not yet, Calyx interrupted. But officially sanctioned research with occasionally shared technological insights, that would be permitted by both our peoples. Hope flickered to life in Ileana's chest. You mean you could stay, openly working with me while secretly representing your species? As a scientific consultant with specialized knowledge, Calyx confirmed. My people have used similar approaches on other developing worlds. It allows for gradual acclimatization. Ileana sat fully upright, mind racing. The Foundation already wants to expand this facility, if we guide that expansion. We create a framework for future diplomatic relations, Calyx finished, the bioelectric connection between them humming with shared excitement. They spent the night planning, strategizing, their bodies and minds working in harmonious tandem. By dawn, they had outlined a proposal that might just bridge their two worlds. When Calyx's rescue ship arrived, it didn't come with the dramatic lights and sounds of science fiction. Instead, it surfaced silently from the ocean depths, a vessel similar to Calyx's but larger, designed for deep space and deep sea travel alike. Ileana stood on the platform's observation deck, heart pounding as a delegation of three beings emerged. They resembled Calyx, though their skin patterns and tendrils varied in color and length. Their silver eyes regarded Ileana with unmistakable curiosity. Calyx stepped forward, speaking in that musical, multi-layered language of her people. The conversation flowed rapidly, occasionally punctuated by gestures toward Ileana and the research station. Finally, the tallest of the visitors approached Ileana directly. I am Nexer Scientific Overseer, he said, his English surprisingly fluent. Calyx has shared your proposal. It is unorthodox. But not without precedent, Calyx added quickly. No, Nexer agreed. Not without precedent. His silver eyes studied Ileana intently. You understand that such an arrangement would bind you to our protocols, that certain technologies would remain restricted, that your primary loyalty would be to knowledge itself. I've always been loyal to knowledge, Ileana replied steadily. It's why I chose isolation here, it's why I saved Calyx, and it's why I believe this can work. Something like approval flickered across Nexer's features. Then we shall begin preparations. Our diplomatic corps will establish the necessary parameters. 1 week later, when the Research Foundation team arrived with their equipment and personnel, they found Dr. Ileana Frost already working with an international specialist in marine biology, an unusual-looking woman named Calyx who had revolutionary insights into deep-sea ecosystems. If they noticed her slightly iridescent skin or the way she occasionally seemed to communicate with Dr. Frost without speaking, they attributed it to the station's unique lighting and the closeness of colleagues who'd worked in isolation together. 6 months later, the expanded research facility had produced findings that revolutionized understanding of marine biology and yielded 2 promising pharmaceutical compounds. Funding poured in, along with carefully selected additional researchers, some human, and eventually a few more international specialists with subtly alien features. In their private quarters, away from monitoring equipment that had been strategically malfunctioning, since installation, Ileana and Calyx prepared for their bond ceremony. A small delegation from Calyx's world would witness it alongside the human colleagues who had gradually been brought into their confidence. The debt is balanced, Calyx whispered as they shared a bioelectric embrace. their energies mingling in patterns that had grown increasingly complex and beautiful with time. "There was never any debt," Ileana replied, pressing her forehead to her alien lovers. "Only a gift. You crashed into my ocean and showed me the stars." "And you," Calyx said, tendrils luminous with emotion, "showed me that bonds transcend worlds." As they sealed their union in the dual traditions of their peoples, human vows and alien bioelectric synchronization, Ileana realized that what had begun as a rescue had transformed into something far greater. The first bridge between worlds, built on the foundation of love that defied astronomical odds. In the night sky above their ocean home, new stars seemed to shine just for them. Beacons of possibility in a universe suddenly much smaller and infinitely more wondrous than either had imagined before their paths crossed in a storm.